Greetings. This is Yasha Ben Israel for the Yasha Ben Israel Israelite Thought Channel. Tonight, we're going to have a great discussion tonight. The topic of discussion is when and where science meets ancient spirituality. Yeah, that's a good one. The reason that the science field, right, the field of science and medicine and law, the reason why they use ancient languages like Greek and Latin, it is to preserve the ancient thought, right? And the ancient thoughts are thoughts at its elementary, primary, and primitive level, right? The original thought, they are the original thoughts recorded by the ancients. They are the spiritual thoughts of the ancients, and they are recorded in their respective languages of origin, right? So we're talking about things like Yahweh, God, Elohim, and Adonai. We will be talking about concepts like heaven and hell and Satan. When we're talking about these things, we'll be talking about Yahweh and Elohim in depth. They both are two concepts that transcend both metaphysics and quantum physics. Yahweh, Yahuwah, YHWH, Yud Hey, Wah Hey, being metaphysical in nature, and Elohim being pure quantum physics. Both highly intellectual in nature. Many do not accept metaphysics to be scientific, and they call it quasi-scientific. In fact, many accept metaphysics to be pseudoscience and quantum physics to be a high science. However, if I can prove error in that aspect of thinking, then that way of thinking is just all the way wrong. Yahweh, Yahweh, YHWH, Yud Hey, Wah Hey. He is from the root Haya, is from the Haya root, and it is the core of existence itself. Thus, it is metaphysical. Elohim, from the root El, is pure power, which has all to do with quantum physics, combined to note the ultimate reality. The Lord told Moses, he said, and the Lord said unto Moses, see, I have made thee a god unto Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. Now in the Hebrew, Shemot 7 reads, the Lord said to Moses, see, I have made you a lord over Pharaoh, a god, right, over Pharaoh, and Aaron, your brother, will be your speaker. Now it comes clearly in Hebrew where it says, Vayilmar Yahuwah el Moshe Ra'ah. What's that? I have a problem with that word. Not tetik Elohim la paroa, right? La paroa. Not tatik Elohim la paroa. That right there, he is telling you that the Most High have made you a Elohim, right? Vayilmar, and he said Elohim, and he said Yahweh, and Yahweh said basically, Moses to Moses, Ra, look, not Tatik Elohim, meaning I have made you a Elohim, La Paroa to Pharaoh. He said that he had made him an Elohim unto Pharaoh. Are there any respected scientists that believes in God? Yes, many respected scientists believes in God, although this is not universally the case within the scientific community. Some prominent examples include Isaac Newton and Francis Collin. Newton, a pioneer in physics and mathematics, was devoutly religious and believed that God's design was evident in the universe. Collins, a geneticist and former director of the National Human Genome Research Institute, has written extensively about the compatibility of science and faith. Many early scientists like Newton, Galileo, Descartes, and Pascal held deeply religious beliefs. Is metaphysics pseudoscience? No, metaphysics is not generally considered pseudoscience. While some aspects of metaphysics can overlap with or be mistaken for pseudoscience, the field itself is a branch of philosophy that explores fundamental questions about reality and existence and is not based on pseudoscientific claims. Does metaphysics deal with existence? Yes, metaphysics deals with existence, but it's more than just the simple fact of something existing. Metaphysics delve into the fundamental nature of existence, including the nature of being, reality, and the relationship between objects, events, and their properties. It explores questions about what it means to be, the nature of the universe, and the ultimate nature of things. Does quantum physics deal with power? Yes, quantum physics deal with power, specifically energy and its interaction at the most fundamental level. It explores the behavior of matter and energy at the atomic and subatomic levels, including how energy is emitted, absorbed, and transferred in the form of photons, and how these interactions influence the behavior of matter. Does quantum physics have something to do with being? Does it have anything to do with existence or being, the state of being? While quantum physics doesn't directly deal with being in a philosophical sense, it does explore the fundamental nature of reality at the smallest scale, including the behavior of matter and energy at the atomic and subatomic levels. This exploration raises questions about the nature of existence and the relationship between observation and reality, which some interpret as being linked to consciousness. Let us delve into the Hebrew thought. So what is the Hebrew thought? The Hebrew thought is the thinking that one acquires after understanding the Hebrew language, the Hebrew scriptures, the Hebrew history, the Hebrew mythology, and culture. That is the Hebrew thought. Once you've understood the Hebrew language and the way that they were thinking based upon their scripture and their history and their mythology and their culture, that is what we call the Hebrew thought. We will be defining Yahweh, Elohim, and God. I can blow this up and make this big here. As we can see, the Yahweh, the original word, we call it Yahuwah, as we can see in pronunciation, you'll see, right? Yahweh, as they pronounce it, the original word, Yod-He, Wah-He in Hebrew, Yahuwah. The part of speech is a proper noun. The transliteration is Yahuwah, because there was no V's, right? They say Yahuwah, but we say Yahuwah. The pronunciation, Yahweh, or Yahweh, right? Or phonetical spelling, which is Yahovah, Yahovah, right? The definition is Lord, often rendered in all capital letters in English. Translation, to distinguish it from other titles, meaning Jehovah. Word origin, the word derived from the Hebrew word Hayah, meaning to exist. Now this is important because the Hebrew word Yahweh, Yahovah, it derives from the Hebrew word exists, and it means to exist, right? Yahovah means to exist or to be, right? Now, what's important is that this is a verb, and verbs conjugate, like go, going, gone. These verbs come, came, right? Stop, stopping, look, looked, ed, looking, ing, right? Stopping, right? This is how you conjugate the verb. You take the original verb and you morph the verb into a totally different word, which is based upon that root word. And the root word in Yahweh is Hayah, right? And it means he exists. Yahweh, which is he exists. He exists. It is all, and you got like Lahiot, you got words like Ehia, and we'll get off into this because I think I recorded some of this. These words are different conjugations of the Hebrew word Hayah, and it translated in English as is, was, to be, will become, right? Was, is, right? I am, that is the present tense form. I will become, or to become, right? That is ehia, right? Lehiot is was, or just straight to exist. Now, the two biggest verbs in the Hebrew language is the Hayah verb from Yahweh and the word El. These are the most universal words. They're so universal that the language encompasses itself around these words. Now, Hayah means, like I told you before, is, was, to be, become, right? I am, like I am, are. All of these words are conjugations of the to be verb, right? Now, El means power and strength. Oh, also, Hayahs exist, right? Because, like, say, for instance, if I was to say I existed, Ane Lahiot, I existed where, let's say at your house, Beituka, right? I existed at your house, Beituka, marketing yesterday or last night, right? I'm saying I existed at your house, or I was at your house. I was at your house. I existed at your house yesterday. It means the same thing. It's from the Hayah, right? And these are lessons that you'll learn that actually strengthen your English understanding as well. And then you have like the future tense, like to become. I will become the president. Ehia, El Malak or Hamalak. I will become the king or the president, right? Or Hashar, right? So you're saying that you will become, or you are saying you will exist as the president. I will be happy. I will in the future exist as happy, right? I am Terry. I exist as Terry or Yasha, right? So this is how you use that, and now we move on to the word El. Is El dealing with power, might, and strength, okay? And I'll deal with El when we get to that, but I'm going to tap on that. El means up, it means over, right? It means above, it means on, it means power, it means high. You know what I'm saying? The word El has so many words. It means to, it means for, from. The word El has so many definitions to it. So the word Hayah itself in the word El clearly does not mean God, right? So when we're dealing with Yahweh and Elohim, we're dealing with the existence. We're dealing with the power and existence. So when we get down here, we'll read further. It says the corresponding Greek Hebrew entries is Exodus 3:15, where it says God also told Moses, say to the Israelites, the Lord God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is how I am, right? Ehiah, to be remembered in all generations, in every generations, right? So he's telling Moses that about his name, right? And Ehiah is his name. So we get with Yahweh, right? He's telling him that his name will exist forever. So we go to, if you read the chapter in Exodus 7, the Most High we talked about that earlier. How the Most High told Moses that he would be an Elohim unto Moses, right? The Most High made Moses an Elohim unto Pharaoh. Excuse me. So we got Yahweh to exist. Existence. What do exist mean? What is the existence? What does it mean? Existence is the state of being alive or being real. So Yahweh, it means he exists, means that he is the state of being alive. It means that he is the state of being real. So Yahweh is he, then you got Hawa, which is a conjugation of Hayah, right? So Yahweh, which is he exists, which means that he is the state of being real. He is the state of being alive, right? So what we're stating is that when you're using words like El and Yahweh, it is clear that the ancients did not have in mind what you call G-O-D, God. We did not have that in mind. The concept or anything that you can fathom or imagine as God today taught to you by modern religion, that was not a part of the Hebrew understanding. It was not a part of the Hebrew thought. So when you said Yahweh, to them clearly they understood that not as God, but he that exists, or he that is the state of being alive. You see, or he that is the quality or the state of being real. Right? So the name Yahweh itself is synonymous with reality. It is synonymous with life, right? It is synonymous with both reality and life. Well, one may say, well, Yasha, the word life is not a hayah. Well, there's two words for exist in Hebrew and existence. One of them is hayah, and the other one is kayem, right? And kayem, from the root word kaya, as we say yakaya, yakaya, Yah lives, right? The word yakaya means he lives, right? Just like Yahweh is the same thing as Yahweh. He lives. He exists, right? So Yakai, Kai means lived, life, right? Kayam is life in its plurality, and it is also the same word for existence. For life and existence is synonymous. So Yahuwah is life itself. Yahuwah is the existence itself. Yahuwah is the state and the quality of being real in itself. So what does Elohim mean? So we're going to blow this up here so you can read it, right? What does Elohim mean? The term Elohim means supreme one or mighty one. I subscribe to that mighty one, right? It is not only used of the one true God, but it is also used on occasion to refer to human rulers. Excuse me, let's get back to that. Let me back on out of there, because this is acting up, it's acting crazy. Discard the changes. Okay. So it says, but it also is used on occasion to refer to human rulers, judges, and even messengers, malakim, the angels, right? Which is mistranslated as angels, might I add. Because in Hebrew, we refer to them as malakim, which is simply meant angel. It does not carry the other connotations that angel follow with it, only in the sense of messenger. It says, so if you saw one exhibiting supreme rule and express mighty power, the word you would use would be Elohim. That does not necessarily mean that you are referring to the one unique God. But even as one comes to understand Yahweh, you might still grab hold to this particular word Elohim in order to emphasize God's power and might. So, what he's basically telling you is that basically we use the word Elohim, and several times we have it recorded all throughout the scriptures. The word Elohim that was referring to God, right? The Most High, what you would recall God, right? The Most High, right? But Elohim also refers to rulers. It refers to prophets. It refers to priests. It refers to messengers, which would be the messengers of the Most High, which were humans as well. You know, we have scriptures that tell you that all of the messengers of the Most High were human, and we're going to top and talk about that a little bit too as well, right? So it says, when you have a first encounter with God through his power displayed in nature, you will likely gravitate towards an Elohim concept. Again, when you have a first encounter with El through the power displayed in nature, you would have likely gravitated towards the Elohim concept, which is why Elohim is not Yahweh in this is why Elohim and not Yahweh is prominent in books like Daniel and Jonah, and even the first two chapters of Genesis. It is only after God further revealed himself that one will understand him to be Yahuwah. So when you see God and him display himself in the power of nature, you're looking at the Elohim concept of the Most High. But when he revealed himself to you, right? When he revealed himself to you, then you're experiencing the Yahuwah concept. Okay? Simply knowing that there is a higher power in Elohim means that one has merely risen to the faith of demons. It is only when we move from elementary knowledge of God as creator that we embrace God as Father, right? As Abba. When we embrace the Elohim as the Abba. So we're going to check out Psalms 82:6. Psalms, what was that scripture was reading it? Psalms 82:6 says, James 6:1, it says, I have said, ye are gods, right? I have said that ye are Elohim, that you are Elohim. I have said it. Who have said it? The Most High have said it. He said, I have said that ye are Elohim, and ye are children of the Most High. You are the Elohim, and you are the children of the El Elyon. And we can read the other Elohim, about the other Elohims, right? It says, and there, so we're talking about year gods. You're humans. If we read further, the first verse and further, we're going to get deeper off into that and where that came from. But we see right here, we're talking about the other gods, right? The other Elohim. This is for all of those who are saying that the Israelites worship a Canaanite deity. Israelites did not worship a Canaanite deity. The Canaanite deity was the other Elohim. You're talking as if though there was one universal Elohim. There were several Elohim. The term Elohim is God's plural in translation. There are several gods, and the Canaanite god is the Aker Elohim, Ha'aker Elohim, the other Elohim. You got Deuteronomy 4:28, it says, and there you will serve Elohim of wood and stone, right? You will serve gods, right? He said Elohim. These are the other gods, right? He said, there you will serve Elohim of wood and stone. Now, when if is that referring to the Canaanite Elohim, the Elohim of wood and stone? No. It's referring to many other Elohim, any Elohim that was made out of wood and stone, right? He said that you shall serve, anytime that you see the word Elohim, you are not to attribute that to one deity, right? He said, you see it's gods with an S. It said, you shall serve gods, Elohim, of wood and stone. Not one, right? In the works of human hands that neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. You're talking about the other Elohim. Now you got Exodus 23:13. It says, pay attention to all that I have said to you, and make no mention of the names of other Elohim. Makes no mention of the name of Ha'aker Elohim, nor let it be heard from your lips. The Most High made it clear that he did not want us to make mention of other Elohim. He did not want us to worship other Elohim. He did not want us to give our power and our service to other Elohim. So surely the Canaanite Elohim is not the Elohim of Israel, for the Elohim of the Canaanites were multiple. They were many, and they were more than one, right? So as we go down further, we're talking about Ha'aker Elohim, the other Elohim. Ha'aker Elohim is the Hebrew for saying the other Elohim. So we're talking about the scriptures that deal with the human judges. I'll go and show you. I forgot to put where the scripture come from, but I'll before I end the video, I'll give you reference to where it come from. But it's talking about. It says, his master shall bring forth the judges. In the Hebrew down here, you can see where it says that it said his master shall bring him to the judges. It said his master shall bring him to the Elohim, and he shall bring him to the door or to the doorpost, and his master shall bore him his ears with an awl, and shall serve him forever. He's talking about these judges here, right? They're talking about a slave master will bring this particular individual unto the judges, which were human beings. And you see in the Hebrew text, they called them the Elohim. It's not taking them to the gods. It's taking them to human judges here. So this is showing you how that in the Hebrew text, this is why it's important to read Hebrew, because they did not translate that. They should have left that as Elohim, so we would not be misled and misguided away from this truth that I am giving you, right? So we go to Exodus 22, 8 and 9. It says, for any sinful word, for a bull, for a donkey, for a lamb, for a garment, for any lost article concerning which he will say that this is it. The pleas of both parties shall come to the Elohim, the judges, right? The pleas of both parties shall come to the judges, which were human Elohim, and whoever the Elohim declares guilty shall pay twofold. Whoever the human judges, the Elohim, declares guilty shall pay twofold to his neighbor. So we can see clearly that human rulers, human judges, priests, messengers of the Most High, angels, which were recorded as angels, human angels, the human ones, not the ones that fly around in the sky, but the ones who came down and talked and dealt with human in human form, that were called and referred to as man. These were the Elohim. So we're seeing that we're getting this concept that now what we're getting here is this perfect microcosm and macrocosm relationship between God, man, and man. We get it's perfect macrocosm. We are the small part of the wholeness of God, and all of us are the one Elohim. Okay. What we have again? Let's go down here to what we have here. Okay. It says, in a few instances in the Old Testament, the Hebrew word Elohim, which usually refers to God, is translated as judges or rulers. We're referring to human authorities as seen as we just saw in Exodus 21:6, 22:8, and 22:9. Here's more detailed explanation. Exodus 26:1. Then his master shall bring him to Elohim, and he shall bring him to the door and to the doorpost. Okay, we already read that already. I probably should read it all together. It probably would sound much more better, I guess. But we'll skip down to Exodus 22 and 8 and 9. How about that? One we haven't read. It says, if the thief is not found, the owner of the house shall come near to God and show whether or not he has put his hand to his neighbor's property. For every breach of trust, whether it is for an ox, for a donkey, for a sheep, for a cloak, or for any kind of lost thing, of which one says, this is it, the case of both parties shall come before the judges, we shall come before the Elohim, the one whom the judges condemn, the one whom the Elohim condemns. And he shall pay double to his neighbor. This is the same thing that's referred to in the other scripture. Then we got Psalms 82:1. It says, you know me for... Oh, excuse me. That's a mistake there. So let's go down. It says, for God has taken his place, for the Elohim has taken his place in the divine council in the midst of the Elohim. He gives his verdict. So we're talking about the gods has taken his place in the council in the midst of the gods, in the midst of the Elohim. The Elohim has taken his place in the midst of the divine conference. So we're talking about humans here. This here wasn't even talking about the God in the sky. He's talking about the human rulers will take his place in the center of the human judges, the council of the human judges, people. This was not talking about the God in the sky, right? And the Elohim of the universe, through the Elohim, the high Elohim of the land, whether it be the ruler or the judge, he will give his verdict. Because of the macrocosm concept, the microcosm concept, excuse me. In Psalm 82:6, it said, I said, you are Elohim. Ye are gods. You are Elohim. And ye are the children of El Elyon, the Most High. But you will die like mortals. Now, if you are Elohim, he's telling you that you are Elohim, but you also are the children of El Elyon, but you will die like mortals, and ye will fall like any other prince. You will fall like any other Elohim. Because ye are Elohim. Okay, let's deal with this word God here, right? God, Golden, Odin, and Woden. Golden. Golden and Odin are different names for the same principal God in Norse and Germanic mythology. They're not saying that they are different gods. He's saying that they are different names inside of the Germanic language and mythology for the same Germanic God, right? Then it says that with Odin being the Old Norse, let me back on out of that. Excuse me for that. With Odin being the Old Norse name for Woden, or Woden, right? Being the Old English and Old Saxon names, all referring to the same deity. Odin, Woden, the god of Thor in Greek mythology, in Germanic mythology, right? The same god of the Marvel comics in Thor, right? Remember I told you that the Europeans have preserved their mythology and their origin story in the Marvel comics, in Odin, Germanic, right? It says the earliest written form of the Germanic word God comes from the 6th century Codex Argenteus, containing a Gothic translation of the Bible. So the earliest form of the word gods comes from the Codex Argenteus, right? They said the 6th century. I can go back a little further than that, but the English word itself is derived from the Proto-Germanic Guten, the reconstructed Proto-Indo-European from Gutham, right? Gutham or Gotham, like as in Gotham City, another Germanic mythology, right? Like Batman, right? Was probably used on the root goa, which meant either to call or to invoke. The Germanic word for God were originally neuter, but both during the process of the Christianization of the Germanic people from their indigenous Germanic paganism. I'm going to break that down and tell you what all this means in short, right? The word became a masculine syntax form. In English, capitalization is used when the word is used as a proper noun as well as for other names which God is known. Subsequently, the capitalization form of God is not used for multiple gods or when used to refer to a generic deity. So basically, what it's basically saying is that, basically telling you that the name God itself came from the Codex Argenteus. The name God itself actually came from Goda, right? Which is a contraction of Godin, which is from Germanic mythology, from Odin. the Germanic tribal chieftain. And when St. Augustine from Africa, the African forefather of Christianity, the African forefather of Catholicism, one of the forefathers of the Christian movement from Africa, he was a Berber, he was a black man, his name was St. Augustine. St. Augustine had conquered and converted the Anglos and the Saxons and many of the Germanic tribes that worshipped Odin. It was through Emperor Constantine that these Anglos and Saxons became converted to Christianity, and in their conversion they didn't have a concept for what the Hebrews or the Christians understood as God or Dios or Theus or Yahweh or Elohim. Their concept was Odin or Godin. So Bishop Orpheus recorded the name Goda, which was a contraction of Godin, into the original Bishop Orpheus Bible. And I think that preceded the Codex Argenteus, which contracted Goda to God. So you got God, Goda, Godin, right? And you can look in your dictionaries and you look up the etymology of God and it'll say Got, right? Remember Gutam, right? Gut, Got, right? Gotham, right? Got. You see, the contraction, once you contract it, right? Goth, as in Gothic. All of these words are related to Odin, and is the reason why many have said in Black consciousness that people who worship Christianity and the Bible are worshiping the white man's God. You know, the Bible is a white man's Bible, and it is the white man's God. It is the white man's Odin that has superseded over your Bible. This is what they're telling you, right? So we can read down here, it says Lord. Like, we're going to get off into the word Lord, right? Lord, overview, usage, examples, similar and opposite words, pronunciation, dictionary use. Someone or something having power. That's what a Lord is. Someone or something having power. Someone or something having authority. Someone or something having influence. Someone or something a master or ruler. Lord of the sea. This is a word in English that 99% of the time can only be used for humanistic references, right? Because it is a someone that has power. Men have power, men have authority, men have influence, men are masters and are rulers, right? So the word Lord is translated from the Hebrew word Adonai, right? Adonai. Adonai is the Hebrew word translation for Lord, and it is not a name for God. I repeat, Adonai is the Hebrew word translated for Lord and is not a name for God. It means someone having power, someone having authority, someone having influence, someone who is a master or a ruler, a human. Right? So, let's deal with who and what is Satan. Right? So every time that you look up the word Adonai in the scriptures, every time, almost all of the time, the word Adonai has to do with God. It has to do with not God, but a man, human, right? So who and what is Satan? Baker's Evangelical Dictionary of Biblical Theology, Satan. Satan, the Hebrew word Satan, means an adversary, one who resists. It is translated as Satan 18 times in the Old Testament, 14 of those occurrences being in Job 1 and 2. The others in Chronicles 21 and 1 and Zechariah 3, 1 and 2. There are some dispute as to whether it should be taken as a proper name or title. In Job and Zechariah, the definite article precedes the noun. Ha-Shaitan, the Satan, the accuser, the adversary. Thus some argue it should be a title, while in First Chronicles no article, it should be a proper name. The word is used also of various persons in the Old Testament as adversaries. Various persons in the Old Testament, it says the word is used also of various persons. Satan is used of various human beings. In all of the time it was ever used, the word Satan, it was used as a human being. The word is used also as various persons in the Old Testament as adversaries, including David, 1 Solomon 29 and 4, Psalm of Damascus, 1 Kings 11 and 23, 1 Kings 11 and 25, and the angel of the Lord in 22 and 22. Also in 22 and 32. And the uniqueness about the one in Numbers 22 and 32 and 22 is that the angel of the Lord, the messenger of the Lord was Ha-Shaitan. One of the Lord's messengers was Ha-Shaitan. He was an adversary. Okay? So the word simply means adversary. It does not mean these spooky ghost words that was given to us, passed down, that it evolved through the years. So in the Old Testament, then Satan is not an evil principle opposing God. In Job, the Satan is not God's adversary, but Job's. He acts as one of God's subordinates, one of God's courtiers or couriers to follow his directives. This view is premised on the idea that there is a difference in this being while he is still in heaven, rather than being cast out and being assigned to a realm on earth. He does not seem at this point to be an adversary of all humans, but rather a selected people. In Zechariah 3 and 1, he is a potential accuser. In 1 Chronicles 21, one inciting David to do evil. Within the Job narrative, Satan acts as God's directive, while chapter 1 and 12 and in chapter 2, 6 through 7 points to Satan's causal role as Job's life. In Job's life, later texts like chapter 6 and 4 and 7 and 14 and 9 and 17 appear to lay blame on God. Thus, he was looking for him. So we got 1 Kings 11 and 14. Then we got, it reads, and the Lord stirred up an adversary unto Solomon, and Hadad the Edomite. It said, and the Lord stirred up an adversary. The Lord stirred up a Satan. He raised up a Satan, an adversary, unto Solomon, Hadad the Edomite. He was the king's seed in Edom. In the Hebrew text, it reads, and the Lord raised up an adversary, a Shaitan, right, against Solomon, Hadad the Edomite. He was of the royal lineage of Edom. If you read it in the Hebrew text, it'll tell you that Yahweh Yacham, Ha-Shaitan, La Salaman, right? Said that the Most High raised up an adversary, Ha-Shaitan. And he told you that this adversary was a man named Hadad. He gave you a name. and told you that he was an Edomite and he was of the royal line of the royal seed of Edom. So this is a human being. Now we're talking about Lucifer for here. We read Isaiah 14. This was supposed to be reserved for my brother Eric, but we'll get over to that, and we'll be able to do it on another platform. But this is research credited by Eric, math scientist. We both did this research together. And Eric, math scientist, recorded, he said, Isaiah 14, 12 through 13, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weakest the nation? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. Isaiah 14, 14 through 16, Lucifer, a wicked king that fell. Said Lucifer in Isaiah 14 and 12 is not the devil. 14, 12, it said, how are you fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn? You have been cast down to the earth, but a wicked ruler. Said, he just told him he was a wicked ruler. A wicked ruler that's been cast down in the earth, right? They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble? That made heaven to shake, right? So we see Isaiah 14 through 16 clearly talks about Lucifer being a man. So we got all of these words, Yahweh, Elohim, Adonai, Shaitan, right? Lucifer, all are human men. So we got Saint Lucifer. How Lucifer was put in the Bible through translation. A representative of Pope Liberius, Lucifer attended the synod of, what's that, pronounce that right? Mediolanum. A representative of Pope Liberius, Lucifer attended the synod of Mediolanum, the Council of Milan in 355, where he defeated Athanasius, the Bishop of Alexandria, who had been condemned for his opposition to Arianism. Arian theology holds that the Son of God is not co-eternal with God the Father and is distinct from the Father. The name Lucifer, the name Lucifer, how is there a saint named Lucifer? The moniker that many Christians use interchangeably with Satan. Turn out that Lucifer is not an uncommon name in Roman times and is mentioned in the Bible was somewhat of a misunderstanding. Yeah, names like Lucifer, Lucy, Lucille, Lucinda, Lucian, Lucky, Luciano. All of these words deal with Lucifer and light, right? And they were all human beings. None of these were considered really man. That's the Lucifer of Cagliari. That's Lucifer as the king that is fallen in Isaiah. Okay. What does Lord really mean? Lord, from Oxford language, means it's a noun. It means someone having power, authority, or influence A master or a ruler. I think we went over that already. Right, okay. Now we go into strong concordance about Adon, right? And I touched on that earlier about Adon. The word Adonai comes from the root word Adon, right? And it means Lord, Master, Ruler. It's Adon, right? It's a masculine noun referring to a man, right? Transliteration Adon, pronunciation, phonetic, Adon. Definition, Lord, Master, Owner, meaning a sovereign or a controller. That's what a don is, like a don, it's a word. Mind you, that there's this word passed down to the Italians, and this is how the mafia leader became known as the don, right? But it's the same origin, right? It's cognitive here. So we're talking about word origin derived from the unused root, meaning to rule. You got the Greek entries there often used to denote Lord or Master, similar to Adon. And it's the word Kyrios, right? Lord or Master. These are all humans, right? So it says usage. The Hebrew word Adon primarily denotes a person of authority and power. Often translated as Lord or Master in English, it is used to refer to human lords or masters, as well as God, emphasizing his sovereignty and authority. The term conveys respect, submission, and acknowledgement of the authority of the one being addressed. So you're talking about a human here, right? Adon, right? Adon. And Adonai, meaning my, right? But I'm speaking too fast. Cultural and historical background. In ancient Near Eastern cultures, the concept of lordship was integral to societal structure. A lord or master was someone who had authority over others, whether in a household, in a community, or a nation. This hierarchical structure was mirrored in the relationship between God and his humans, and his people. Remember I was telling y'all about that microcosm? Where God is recognized as the ultimate Adon, the supreme ruler and master over all creation. The use of Adon is referred to God's the use of Adon in reference to God underscores his role as sovereign ruler, deserving of worship and obedience. Adonai is singular. It means my Lord and generally refers to a human, but can also refer to God or a messenger. Adonai is a human messenger, that is. Adonai is plural and can refer to a group of people. My Lord or my God. My God using plural my God using plural kind of like and royal we. You're talking about the royal we, the majestic plural. If the verb used with its plural, it refers to humans. So you see the word Adonai in its plural sense is referring to human beings. And almost all of the time the word is referring to human beings that I have read. Very few times has it ever referred to God. The word Adonai is simply the word for Lord. Lord is defined in English as someone or something having power, authority, or influence, a master or ruler. In 1 Samuel 24:8, 26:17, 29:8, David refers to Saul as my Lord. David refers to Saul as Adonai. He could refer to him Adonai Hamalek, Adonai the King, not the God of the universe, right? And he uses the term Adonai. Likewise, Abner refers to David in the same manner. We see this in 2 Samuel 3:21. And this is found throughout the book of 2 Samuel as a reference to David. The term is used of other kings as well. Some of Elisha's followers used the term Adonai to refer to Elisha in 2 Kings 2:19, as he can be seen by its usage throughout the Old Testament. Adonai is simply a term of respect that is in keeping with the English definition and usage for the word Lord. So we got these references here, like the 1 Samuel 24:8. It said, David also arose afterward and went out of the cave and cried after Saul, saying, My Lord the king. And Samuel looked behind him. David stopped with his face to the earth and bowed himself. David would have and David would not have, and didn't have a problem addressing both Yahweh and Saul as Adonai. 1 Kings 26:17. So, David wouldn't have had a problem with addressing neither Adonai or to be neither the king or the creator of the universe. So we scroll down here to 1 Samuel 26:17. And Saul knew David's voice and said, Is this thy voice, my son David? And David said, It is my voice, my Adonai, O king. Right? He referred to him as Adonai. And then you got, what's that? In the 110th verse, it said, The Lord said unto my Lord. Oh, excuse me, that's Psalms 110. Excuse me. It says, the Lord said unto my Lord, Sit thou on my right hand until I make thy enemies thy footstool. Right? But in the Hebrew text, it says this is a psalm of David, right? It says, the word of the Lord to my master, right? It says the word of Yahweh to Adonai, right? If you read this down in the Hebrew, I'm going to go to the beginning. What the beginning of that Hebrew scripture at? It says that the Most High said to Adonai, right? Right here it says Al Dawood Masmur, right? This means that this is a letter, this is a song to and for David, right? Then it says Naam Yahweh, right? Naam Yahweh La Adonai, right? It said that Yahweh said to Adonai. So was he saying this to himself? Who was the Adonai here? It tells us the Adonai here was David, because it starts off with La Dawood Masmur. This letter was for David. David was the Adonai. Naam Yahweh La Dawood, and he said unto David, Shub, right? Sit thou on my right hand. La Yamini, sit right on my right hand, right? Shub La Yamini, right? Until he makes his enemies his footstool. So we see clearly that the Most High was referring to the Adonai. He said Adonai. The Most High told Adonai David, right? La Dawood Masmur. Right? This is why people don't like Hebrew, right? This is why we start off talking about you have to go into the original Hebrew thought to be able to get the understanding of these writings. So David would have and didn't have a problem addressing both Yahweh and Saul as Adonai. That David would not have. That's David would not have. Psalms 110, the Lord said, sit on my footstool. Yeah, we already went through that. The origin of hell. In Hebrew, the word hell is a Gehinnom, derived from the Hebrew phrase, the valley of Hinnom, the valley of the sons of Hinnom, which was a human man, right, in a valley on earth, right, which referred to an ancient valley near Jerusalem. Here's a more detailed explanation. Gehinnom. This is a common Hebrew word for hell and is described from the valley of Hinnom, the valley of Hinnom, the Hinnom Valley, the valley of the sons of Hinnom. This was a real valley on the southwest side of Jerusalem, where, according to some interpretations, sacrifices and practices associated with idolatry took place. Gehenna, the New Testament Greek word Gehenna, is a translation of the Hebrew Gehinnam, and is used to refer to this concept of hell. The word hell is an English rendition of the Greek word Geino, also translated into English as hell. This word shows up 12 times in the New Testament, or the Bris Kadash, in 4 books: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and James. 11 of the 12 are found in quoted passages of Yeshua, Jesus himself. With a careful study of the text, you came to realize that Yeshua used the word instead of Hades to make a specific point. Gehenna gets its root from the Hebrew place Gia ben Hinnon, sons of valley of the sons of Hinnon, or sometimes just Gia Hinnon. So the Gia ben Hinnon and Gia Hinnon. Gia Hinnon actually becomes, in English, Gehenna, and in English, Guyana or Guianan. This place, Guianan, showed up a few times in the Tanakh, for example. 1 Chronicles 28:3. Moreover, he, Ahaz, burned incense in the valley of Ben Hinnon, Bagia Ben Hinnon, and burnt his son in the fire, according to the abominations of the nations whom Yahweh had driven out before the sons of Israel. And you got Jeremiah 7:30-34. For the sons of Judah have done that which is evil in my sight, declares Yahweh. They have set their detestable things in the house which is called by thy name, to defile it. They have built the high places of Tophet, which is in the valley of the sons of Hinnon, Begahianan, in the valley of the sons of Hinnon, to burn their sons and daughters in the fire, which I did not command, and did not come into my mind. So the Most High didn't send his children to burn in the fire, and nor did that idea come to his mind. Therefore, behold, days are coming, declare Yahweh, when I will no longer be called Tophet, or the valley of the sons, it would no longer be called Tophet, or the valley of the sons of Heman, Wagia ben Hinnon, and the valley of the slaughter, for they will bury in Tophet, because there is no other place. The dead bodies of this people will be food for the birds of the sky, for the beasts of the earth, and no one will frighten them away. Then will I make to cease from the cities of Judah and from the streets of Jerusalem the voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, for the land will become a ruin. So we see right here that hell is a place on earth. And in Hebrew it comes from the word Sheol, meaning the grave, right? Woe. So you got Sheol, it means simply the grave. It's not no afterlife. It doesn't mean a place where you go and burn up with the fire. Sheol simply just meant the grave, right? So you got the valley of the sons of Hinnom, which is Gehenna. Then you got Sheol, which is the grave. You see, all of these concepts that Christianity and rabbinical Judaism have taken this stuff to mean something totally different than what the original Hebrew thought recorded it out to be. So we have Matthew 23 and 15. It says, "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, because ye travel round on the sea and land to make one convert. And when he becomes one, you make him twice as much the son of hell, Guinness, as yourself." So what is heaven? The Hebrew word for heaven or heavens is Hashamayim, which is a plural noun, meaning the heights or the elevation or the sky. The word is the most common translation of heaven or heaven in biblical Hebrew. The plural form, Shamayim, is a plural form, even though it is often translated as heaven in English, which is singular, which should be translated as sky, meaning the literal meaning heights or the elevations. That's El is the height and the elevation. Shemayim is like the sky or the expanse, right? Referring to the sky or the realm above the earth. See, I told you it's referring to the sky. In the Bible, Shemayim is used to describe the sky, the visible heavens, and also the abode of God. Well, that part, God abode within us. He abode within the humans, right? The other human words, while Shemayim is most common, other words like Maroon also can be used to describe the high place or the heights. So the heaven, but the Maroon is not referred to where the place where the gods live, though, right? And in the Old Testament, I don't think that the Shemayim refers to that either. The God of the Old Testament is one with his creation. The heavens, Hashamayim, which is the Shin, Mem, Yod, Mem, Sofate, which is Shamayim. The heavens, which is single word in Hebrew, is the fifth word found in the Torah. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Birashit bora Elohim et Hashamim wa et haaretz. Shemayim is heaven. Hashamayim is the heavens. In the Hebrew scriptures, the heavens refer to the sky. The sun, the moon, the stars are all in the sky. They're all in Hashamayim. They're all in the heavens. Genesis 1:14-15. Then God said, "Let there be light in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let there be for signs, and let there be for seasons, and let there be for days and years, and let there be for lights in the expanse of the sky, in the expanse of the heaven, to give lights to the earth." And it was so. The Hebrew word Hashamayim includes within it the Hebrew word for water, which is mayim. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Hebrew word shemayim does have water. So it seems that water is consistently connected with the heavens. Scientifically, of course, we know this to be true. Water goes into the heavens as vapors, help form clouds, and return to the earth as rain. We also know that water is necessary to support life. Planet viability is contingent on finding water. So, what we have learned here is that there is this perfect microcosm between us as man and the Elohim, Yahweh El Elyon, and that we are, as humans, we are the Elohim. We are the Adonai. We are both the gods and the devils of this world. For every Satan that is ever raised up was a human. And we'll go next, and we'll be looking off into scriptures like that talk about the angels and proving them to be humans. So none of this stuff about God being in the sky and the devil being under the earth or burning in the fire, all of that stuff is Christian and European paganism and heathenism. And the stuff is not real and it's fake and it's phony. This is the real concept of what heaven is and hell is and what God is and what the devil is and what and things of that nature. And when you're looking up God, when you see God in the Bible, you got to know that when they put God there, that was either one of two words, either Yahweh or Elohim. And a lot of times, the Elohim or El was never even, almost all the time the word El was written, it was referring to up or on top of something. Like say for instance, when you talk about how the Spirit of God like rolled over the deep into Genesis, you know, it rose Al, you know, El, you know, over, you know. And I'm looking at here, we talked about, or God told the light to exist. You know, that was deep because he said, or he just told the light to be. He told him to exist. You know, they go that Hebrew word, hiyot, the word from Hayah again. He told the light to hiyot, or he told the light to exist. So yes, so the power, we're dealing with power and existence. When you're dealing with Yahweh and Elohim, you're not dealing with this polytheistic pantheon. You understand? You know, you're dealing with strictly the existence and power. That being stated, like, share, and subscribe. I hope you've gotten something out of this video. I've done great research, time-consuming, painstaking research, you know, just so I can get to the bottom of these truths. You know, the God that you've been taught to believe in is not real. The devil that you were taught to believe in is not real. The gods and the devils that you see are all manifested within the human beings upon this earth. And out of all of the families on the earth, Yahweh said that Israel was the only one that he has known, meaning that the Israelites were God's people. They were the people of his power, of his existence. They were the people who he was reflected upon and inside of. Here's some references work for you. Belief and gratitude, Yasha ben Israel. Okay. It's talking about some new books that I'm talking about writing, right? And we're refining the manuscripts. We were just adding my new chapter where it talks about Yahweh's connection to consciousness, quantum physics, and spirituality overlapped Then we got historical references to Yahweh's true nature. Research and suggest credible sources to support this claim. Okay, and we shall start with reviewing the existing manuscripts that we had shared, the existing presentation that we had shared. Say the manuscript received and reviewed in progress, which was Yasha's ben Israel's presentation manuscript. We went through that. Okay, now we're going to talk about how quantum physics proves that simply, how quantum physics proves Yahweh. The simple explanation, Yasha ben Israel, quantum physics proves Yahweh, reality itself in 5 key points. In non-locality, quantum particles cannot instantly across space imply a unified omnipresent reality. That's non-locality. Non-locality is quantum particles cannot instantly across space, implying a unified omnipresent reality. Then we have entanglement. Particles linked, affecting each other regardless of distance, suggesting a single interconnected reality, which is Yahweh is all, right? Then we have the wave-particle duality. Quantum objects exist as both waves and particles, blurring boundaries between spirit wave and physical reality particles, embodying Yahweh's dual nature. Uncertainty principle. Reality isn't fixed until observed, implying consciousness. Yahweh shapes reality. A unified field theory. Quantum physics seeks a single field underlying all existence, mirroring the concept of Yahweh as the unified reality itself. And I asked, has anyone ever touched on this subject? And research revealed myself, other scholars, and authors who touched on the topic. Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan, in The God of Nature, explored connections between the Torah and modern physics. Then you have the Fritjof Capra, in The Tao of Physics, discussed parallels between quantum physics and Eastern spirituality, hinting at unified realities like Yahweh. Then you have the Dana Zohar, in The Quantum Itself Examined. So I asked, can I get some more examples, from Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan? Can I get some more on him? And it says that Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan was a highly respected African Orthodox rabbi, author, and translator, known for his unique blend of science and Judaism. Here are some key facts about his life and work. Born Leonard Martin Kaplan on October 23rd, 1934, in the Bronx, New York, and died on January 28th, 1983, at age 48. He was a physicist and earned a degree from the University of Louisville and the University of Maryland. Became a rabbi after studying at Mir Yeshiva in Jerusalem. Authored over 60 works, including the Living Torah, a translation of 5 books of Moses, and the Haftarah. Saw harmony between science and Judaism, anchoring his ideas in classical rabbinic literature. His work had a significant impact on the Jewish world, especially the Baal Teshuvah movement. Say, would I like to know more about his views on the movement? No, not necessarily. So what I would like to know is, so what would be the best work recommended based on what we're doing here? Say, based on Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan's work connecting science and Judaism, his best work for the project is The Living Torah. This book is a translation of the 5 books of Moses and the Haftarah, blending science and Jewish scholarship. Other notable works relevant to our topic include If We Were God, exploring divine providence and nature of being, The Handbook of Jewish Thought, organizing Jewish sources and scientific precision, the translation of Safar Yetzirah, the Bahir, and the Derek Hashem, classic Jewish mysticism works. These works showcase Rabbi Kaplan's unique approach to harmonizing science and Judaism. So would I like for him to summarize any of these books for the project? And I said, yes, I would like to know more on his views on science. So we get Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan's views on science. Yasha Ben Israel summary of his key points. Harmony between Torah and science. Believe Torah and science describe same reality from different perspectives. The Big Bang Theory aligns with the Genesis. I agree with that. And saw parallels between scientific cosmology and biblical accounts of creation. Quantum physics reflects free will. Argued quantum uncertainty principle mirrors Torah concepts of free will and moral choice. Consciousness is fundamental. Propose consciousness as basis of reality, echoing Torah description of God as conscious creator. Number 5, time and space are relative. Interpreted Torah descriptions of time, dilation, and spatial relativity predating Einstein's theory. Nature has inherent spirituality. Believed physical world embodied spiritual reality, visible through science and Torah insight. His book, If You Were God, explores these ideas deeply. He asked would I like to summarize the best info relative to Yahweh in existence. Aryeh Kaplan's insight summarizes at number 1, Yahweh, the unified field. Kaplan saw Yahweh as the unified field, underlying all existence, similar to physics. Unified fields theory. Consciousness equals Yahweh. He believed consciousness is fundamental to reality, and Yahweh is ultimate consciousness. Number 3, existence emerges from Yahweh. Kaplan wrote that existence unfolds from Yahweh's infinite potential, like quantum physics' zero-point field. Time and space created by Yahweh. He interpreted Yahweh as describing Yahweh creating time and space, echoing modern cosmology. Yahweh sustains existence constantly. Kaplan saw Yahweh's ongoing involvement in sustaining reality, like physics, concept of continuous energy, like physics concept of continuous energy input. So he said Kaplan saw Yahweh's ongoing involvement in sustaining reality, like physics concept of continuous energy input. Reality reflects Yahweh's nature. He believed reality's pattern, example, fractals and symmetry. mirrors Yahweh's perfect unified nature. Quotes from his book supporting these points. The infinite is not just a concept, but a reality that underlies all existence. The nature of God. And then you have consciousness is not just an emergent property, but the fundamental reality in if you were God's. So these are some of the books, some of the things for the books that I'll be writing.